In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I say this every week. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Office Hours with Dr. A is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and I will endure the consequences. Again, rest assured, I will not try to put my brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort, it requires actual work.
You've reached the office of Dr. Randy Arrington. Please have a seat, and the doctor will be with you in just a moment.
Good afternoon, this is Dr. Randy Arrington, and you are now in Office Hours with Dr. A, and it is not a safe space. You will be exposed to the truth, and on the line with me, as always, is Lou Esposito. She is my producer, my sidekick, and of course, as you know, I've given her the honorary tactical call sign of Wench because she doesn't take crap from anybody. Are you there, Lou?
4. Yeah, I'm always here. And happy to be.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. Well, you know, this Sunday afternoon, we've got a couple of things that we're going to share with the listeners out there, kind of exciting for us and hopefully for them as well. And we'll do that when you think it's appropriate. But what we're going to do is we're going to finish up the series that we've been doing called Presidential Paradoxes, Paradox of the American Presidency. Hopefully it'll educate some people on what it is that we expect from a president, how to judge a president, and maybe even to take a look at these people running for the ticket on both sides of the aisle. They're the Democrats and Republicans for this campaign during the primary season. But we can start with paradox number 8. If you're ready to go, Lou, we can get going.
Yeah, let's get back to 8 that you started on, and we promised to finish this week.
Did I promise that?
Yeah,
I tell you what, before this show, I was listening at K98 Talk to JD and Stacy during their show, and I tell you what, it's really fun to be in the romper room with those people that listen to them every week. And JD did a magnificent job. I just think Stacy needs to pick it up a little bit, but that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Stacy's the smart one. JD's the funny one. Stacy's the smart one.
Well, they were very kind. They were very kind to you and me. They gave us some plugs there during their segments, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the paradox of the American presidency. And here's paradox number 8. What it takes to become president may not be what it takes to actually govern the nation effectively once you make it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. To win the presidential election, Lou, it takes ambition. It takes gobs of money. It takes years of hard work. It takes masterful public relations strategies. And it also takes some luck. To win the presidency, it requires the formation of an election coalition. And sometimes these coalitions come together. You know, politics, Lou, makes for strange bedfellows. I think Stacey Lennox would probably back me up on this. Right now, with Mr. Trump pretty much solidly in the lead, and you notice Mr. Cruz is now in the second position. He's overtaken Mr. Carson in the polls, both nationally and in New Hampshire, beside the first real contest, I guess, primary. We have Iowa as a contest as well, but that's a caucus. But strange bedfellows. The coalition for Mr. Trump right now, if you'll ask Stacey Lennox, is a bunch of leftists and Clintonians who think that they're just backing him to siphon away votes from the real conservatives
certainly
in the
way.
campaign. Which
it certainly seems that way, doesn't it? I mean,
Well, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm looking real hard at Mr. Trump and Mr. Carson as well as Ted Cruz. I like a lot of things they say. I like a lot of things that have come from not so much Mr. Kasich or not Jeb Bush for sure. I think Rubio is a slick punk in a three-piece suit. I don't like him at all. But I'm looking real hard at those people. I do like some things I hear out of Carly Fiorina. But we have to continue to vet them for sure.
Yeah.
Before we make our final choice there.
Yeah.
So
I think Carly's the dark horse.
Well, it does. You have strange bedfellows that get into bed with one another. I mean, Wall Street's in bed with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Who would have thought that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
They're in bed with those two.
Well, don't speak for yourself there.
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
just
said we, right?
Say it again?
You said we're in bed with them, right? I said speak.
No. Well, I meant we meaning the true conservative Americans that are patriots. We've got people in Wall Street that are pretty much playing footsie with Mr. Obama and Hillary Clinton, all because of this trumped up, there's a good word, false set of assurances that we have for Wall Street and for the Dow Jones and that sort of stuff, and for the money in this country, which we haven't had a raise in our interest rates, I think, since Mr. Obama took over. It's all fake, Lou.
Yeah.
It's a big bubble that will come tumbling down, worse than the bubble that Mr. Clinton created by giving loans to people that couldn't afford them.
Like you said, strange bedfellows.
Strange bedfellows. So you know what? To govern in a democracy, by the way, we don't have a real democracy like the Athenians taught us, Aristotle and Plato. What we have is a constitutional republic based on democratic principles. But to govern in that type of a system requires much more than just the electoral coalition and the money and the hard work and the luck, ambition, and great public relations strategies. It requires the formation of a governing coalition and the ability to bargain and compromise. You know what, Lou? The formal powers of the presidency amount to little more than a clerkship. This comes to us from Dr. Richard Neustadt, who wrote the seminal work in presidential analysis from a power perspective. He wrote Presidential Power and the Modern Presidents. He said the formal powers of the president amount to nothing more than a clerkship. Presidential power is the power to persuade. We mentioned this a little bit last week. The power to persuade using the enumerated powers and the inherent powers combined with the perks and the punishments, the perks that he can offer to other political elites or those sanctions, punishments, that he can dole out in retaliation against those same political elites. So that's what the presidential power really boils down to. Although important in our political process, and you know this, television sort of has mixed and confusing effects for the presidency. We're going to get into, probably next week, the presidential spectacle, which talks about the importance of public relations and the way it affects the presidency.
Yeah.
Because of television, Lou, faults and flaws are exaggerated. And looking good often becomes more important than doing well. We have the age-old analysis there and mantra, look good or die trying. I'm brought back to my days as a young naval aviator around the aircraft carrier. We had to look good or die trying to look good. It's just the way it was. And you know who you had to impress the most was your fellow naval aviators, because they would rag on you until you couldn't stand it anymore. But it made us stronger men and now women.
They still do, right? I mean, they never stop.
Well,
that never stops.
They never stop. And I don't know if I think JD gets it. I'm not sure if Stacey Lennox gets it. I tease her incessantly.
You sounded like this morning he got it.
Bring the best out of her. I try to bring the best out of her, like you. Does that not work?
Hey, that's why
Meredith girl?
Yeah, that's why I like you guys. Because you challenge me.
All right.
And
well,
Hammy's the same.
You got to challenge people. You got to.
Yeah.
Part of my leadership skill and technique is sort of like John Wooden. I can bring more out of you, get more positive results out of you, or Stacey Lennox, or JD, than they thought was even possible to dredge up themselves. And that's how a good leader, I think, operates. We mentioned this earlier. If I have too much personal success, it's not about me, Lou. Too much personal success means I failed as a leader. I got to help other people achieve more or achieve greatness in their own respect, and that's what a leader does. Getting back to looking good or die trying, I'm often reminded when I talk about this one about the Nixon-Kennedy debates. If you listen to the Nixon-Kennedy debate back in the 60s, if you listen to it on the radio, you thought Nixon won. Absolutely, you thought Nixon won. But if you saw it, you viewed it on television, you thought Kennedy won. Because Nixon shouldn't even have been there. Nixon was sick, like you today. I know you're sick, and I mentioned that in the romper room. You had a lot of people on your side, wishing you well.
I feel better.
But Nixon shouldn't even have been there. He was sweating. He had the flu. He just shouldn't have been there.
And Rick Perry made a similar mistake in the 2012 elections. He was sick.
Well, Rick Perry made a lot of mistakes.
Well, that's true, but he was sick, and it came through. And, he wasn't well, and he shouldn't have been there. But it's to your point.
I agree.
You got to look good.
Look good or die trying. And we're going to talk about that dynamic when we get into the presidential spectacle next week. Look good or die trying, and how all the president's men and women. When I say men, people, I mean human, okay?
Right.
All the president's men are trying to make him look good, and the way they go about doing that in an attempt to make him look good, almost to fool the public. We'll talk about that when we get to the presidential spectacle.
I got a clip of somebody that likes to make themselves look good. Do you want to hear it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna play a clip of somebody who's always reminding us of how good he looks.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. I have a total net worth, and now with the increase, it'll be well over $10 billion. But here, a total net worth of $8 billion. Net worth, not assets, not liability, a net worth. Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich. Free trade can be wonderful if you have smart people. But we have people that are stupid. If you really love this country, you have a very, very hard time convincing people that what you're doing is right and that you're really smart. And like a lot of us are really smart. I'm really smart. Went to the Wharton School of Finance. Even then, a long time ago, like the hardest or one of the hardest schools to get into. Did well at the school. Came out, made a fortune, wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Did everybody read The Art of the Deal? We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. President.
That goes on for 5 minutes. That's just a minute of it. But I think he's ahead in the polls. He's constantly making himself look good. I think he's proving your point, Dr. A.
Well, you know what? Just listening to that, it doesn't send a thrill up my leg, like the knucklehead on NBC. But listening to that, it does make me understand why Miss Stacey loves him so much. Now I get it.
Kill you. Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah. I get why a lot of frustrated people are on his side. But we're not stupid, and you just said it. We also realize that there's a lot of people trying to skim him off the top and make him the nominee because they think that the Democrat nominee can beat them. I think they're mistaken, but I don't.
Here's what I would teach that Cornell chick, Miss Stacey, about politics. In case she doesn't know this already, Machiavelli wrote The Prince. Mm-hmm. Machiavelli advised all politicians to be liars and cheats in order to protect and to expand their political power. So, I said this last week, when a politician is not kissing your baby, he or she is stealing your baby's lollipop. And that's the way politicians are.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, you know what? To become chief executive of this country, to become president, it takes a determined person, a master fundraiser, not necessarily a Wharton School of Business graduate, but a master fundraiser, a person who is a dynamic, charming, and a great personality on television and somewhat hazy on the issues. That probably, describes Mr. Trump to a T right there.
Yes, it does. And he, the joke is, those of us who question his greatness when it comes to politics, not business, is that his standard answer is, well, yeah, I'll tell you later. Yeah, we're gonna do great things. We're gonna do great. Well, if you could be specific about those great things, that would be awesome.
Here's the problem for anybody that is going to, walk into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Once you're president, you have to be a well-rounded, careful, and reasoning person, clear and specific in your communications to all of your constituencies, which, there's 8 constituencies that the president has. I'll talk about that when we get to the presidential spectacle. But you have to do that, and you should not be excessively ambitious. So that being the case, what it takes to become president is different from what it takes to be president. Now, paradox number 9. You want to take a break? We have time to keep going, or what do you want to do?
No, you keep going.
Okay, paradox number 9. The presidency is sometimes too strong, and yet at other times the presidency is too weak. Presidents are granted by the Constitution wide latitude, and by us, by the way, by the people as well, and in Congress, but their underlying authority comes from the Constitution. They're granted wide latitude in dealing with foreign events, of events that occur abroad. At times, presidents can act unilaterally without the express consent of Congress, and this can be a good thing or a bad thing. In the case of Mr. Lincoln, it turned out to be a good thing. I'm thinking there were several people in the South that thought his unilateral actions were not a good thing. One of them jumped off a stage in Ford's Theater and shot him in the head. Mr. Obama acts unilaterally. I think there's people out there in the populace, in the electorate, that loves that, think he walks on water. And yet there are some other people, rational thinking individuals, that think this guy should be tried for treason and put in jail for the rest of his life. I am one of those.
Well, I think regardless of which side you're on, and it's easy for me as an independent, or easier for me as an independent, you should be looking at the executive and saying, no, you should not be on a regular basis acting unilaterally. You're part of a tricameral or a 3-branch government.
Here's the paradox here. We're talking about president acting unilaterally. While the constitutional grounds, if you want to look at it from that perspective, for such acts may be dubious, the climate of expectations amongst the mass allows presidents to act courageously, quickly, and decisively in foreign affairs. This being the case, in many instances where this occurs, the public begins to think that the president can do the exact same thing at home. But this is not the case, Lou.
Right, exactly.
There's a clashing expectation that is built into the presidency when strength in some areas is matched by weakness in others. The president is always too powerful, given our natural, God-given worst fears of tyranny and despotism and totalitarianism, and our ideals of government by the consent of the people. And yet he is likewise always too weak, given our desire to accomplish things and to solve problems, which is what the president is supposed to do. Things like curb the rising national debt, end discrimination, solve the problem of poverty, and cure a host of other nagging domestic dilemmas. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's part of the fundamental misunderstanding among the people of what the president is and what he should be and what our government is and what our government should be and what our Constitution says. I think most people don't understand it, and I don't think that they understand the danger of what they actually want a president to do.
You know, I'm reminded of that woman that was, she was played endlessly on Fox, being interviewed. She was ecstatic, saying that I won't have to worry about putting gas into my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. I helped Mr. Obama. Mr. Obama is going to help me. And there are people out there, Lou, that think that, one, the president can do anything. And that is just not the case. I think, you know, from the mega liberal perspective of the cultural Marxists out there, Mr. Obama has been highly successful at doing what he said he was going to do and what the cultural Marxists want him to do. When viewed from a different perspective of the true American conservative patriots out there that revere our Constitution and the traditional values and principles of the United States of America, this guy, one, is either totally incompetent and inept, or, from the better perspective, better analysis comes from Dr. A, he is a traitor. He's engaging in heinous treason every single day he's in office, and you know what? So is Mrs. Clinton. And if you people out there put Mrs. Clinton in the White House, you have just put the last nail in your own coffin, and you know not what you do.
Or do
you
they?
are about as mind rape as you can be. Have a drink on me.
Exactly, have a drink. And some of them I think know very well what they're doing. Some of them are really interesting. I'm thinking of one particular person on Twitter who is extremely liberal. However, I don't dislike her because she's pretty fair, actually. And she's not a Hillary supporter at all. She's not a Bernie supporter either. She's really supporting Jim Webb, which I think last we heard he might be going independent. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I told you, if you remember a couple shows ago, that if I were to pick a candidate on the Democratic side, it would be Senator Webb, former Navy Secretary Senator Webb.
So here's my thing. If he's going to go independent and there's a large contingency, and if she's any indicator, there is at least a significant contingency that really supports them, he could skim. I hope he goes independent. I'm just going to put it that way. I hope he runs as an independent.
I think what he'll do, see, you're going to realize independents are not really independent, Lou. Independents lean strongly towards one party or the other. They always do. I don't care what you say. They lean left or they lean right.
I just want him to siphon. Yeah.
You can count on an independent who leans right to be a strong supporter of the GOP. You can count on an independent who leans left to be a strong supporter of the Democratic Party.
I would just like to see him siphon some votes from the Democrat side in a general election.
Well, I think if he goes independent, he will siphon votes away from Mrs. Clinton, and to me that would be a good thing. I think on the whole, we're all flawed men and women, but on the whole, I think James Webb is mostly an honorable man. Did a good job as Secretary of the Navy. He self-identified as a Democrat, so he could go into Virginia and beat George Allen's son, who was a Republican, and that happens a lot in politics. You self-identify to a political party based on where you think you can win.
Right.
If I was to run
reasons.
in Georgia here against Lynn Westmoreland, the only way I could beat him would be to probably self-identify as a moderate Democrat. Or if I ran against that knucklehead Hank Johnson, a couple of districts up from me, a lot of people asked me to do that. I'd have to identify maybe as a centrist Democrat to beat him.
Nobody's going to believe that. So forget. I mean, you might as well forget it because nobody's ever going to believe that. It's too late. You're on the radio. You're forever. Yeah, you're forever labeled.
You think I couldn't fool some people?
No,
right, I can't.
I don't.
I couldn't do that.
No, you're not fooling anybody.
All right. Well, you want to take a break, or we got one more paradox before we can finish up?
All right. So let's take a break really quick, and I've got another clip for the second half of the show too. So we're gonna.
Oh, I like that. I like your clips.
I know.
Is it a Reagan? Is it a Reagan clip?
Well, what do you think? Have I played a Reagan clip this show yet?
No, I either need a Reagan clip or a Dr. A clip, or please don't play any Hillary Clinton clips. I get sick.
Yeah, we have to play a Reagan clip every show because Clout, the social scoring site, believes that I'm an expert.
Before we go to the break, did you see, people keep asking Mr. Obama about the strategy for the Middle East in defeating ISIS and the other radical Muslims, okay?
Right.
You know what, first of all, I can't think of a more potent recruitment tool for ISIS and for all of radical Islam and jihad than having Barack Hussein Obama sitting in the White House or riding his little girl bike or traipsing around a golf course wearing his little shorts or giving his idiotic America-bashing teleprompter speeches.
Right.
That is a recruiting tool right there. Here's the strategy for the Middle East. We win, they lose.
That's Dr. A's strategy. I think that, and I tell people this a lot, I don't think that his strategy is so horrible. I think for what he's trying to accomplish, his strategy is actually pretty good. But that gets into a whole nother argument, and that would put me off. And that would put us on the Islamo-communist thing, drink again. And we're not going to go there. We're going to cut to break before we say too many more drinking words and our audience gets too drunk. So we will be right back in 2 minutes.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of libertative conservatism.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared. Not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com. The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
And we're back. And yes, that was War for You once again, Dr. Ray.
Edwin Starr, War, really pumps me up. The only other song I like better than that would be the Rolling Stones, Gimme Shelter. Yeah,
really?
Those are great songs. They pump me up. You know what? Here's paradox number 10. Presidents affirm the existing order in the United States of America and major traditions of our society. Yet, they often must also create a new order and boldly depart from the norm. Those are called transformational presidents. You remember what President-elect Obama said 2 days before he took office? 2 or 3 days. He said, we are 2 or 3 days from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. That's what he wants to do and has been doing it for 7 years, boldly departing from the norm. Every now and then you'll hear him affirm some of our supposed major traditions of our existing order. But when it comes out of his mouth, I know he doesn't believe that. He's just mouthing the words. He is a pathological liar and a sociopath, just like Mrs. Clinton. You cannot believe anything the guy says. And yet, even Satan himself will mix the truth in with all of his lies and fraudulent deceptions. So you got to be careful when this guy talks. I wrote an article several months ago that was published calling Barack Obama the rattlesnake. Beware the rattlesnake Barack Obama. It was after the 2014 elections when they pretty much had him in a corner. What does a cornered rattlesnake do? They come out biting.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened just 2 weeks later. I hate being right all the time.
No, you don't.
You know what? Presidents presidents are order. Oh, by the way, your friend JD pretty much accused me of being a womanizer. I'm talking about whatever. I love it.
He said you were
wonderful.
He said you were quite the ladies' man. That's a completely different thing.
Okay. Because every now and then will pay attention to Miss Stacy, who's a married woman.
No, I think it's probably I think it's probably your call sign.
Teen Angel?
So, yeah, exactly. So I was gonna let you say your call sign on air, Teen Angel. With the call sign Teen Angel.
I am a Teen Angel.
Well, evidently
Teen Angel, can you hear me? Teen Angel, yeah. Well,
evidently the rest of the strike team thought that you were, the guys you were training with thought you were, because that was the call sign that they gave you, and I know you don't get to pick your own. I didn't get to pick mine that you gave me. You picked it for me. Your tactical call sign, honorary tactical call sign, is just perfect. And we need to somehow put that picture of that wench up there when you announce our new plans that you're going to do here in the last segment. But okay, yeah, I'll start using it in the show promo.
Am I teasing? I'm teasing, yeah.
Yeah.
Presidents are order affirming, and here's the paradox, simultaneously order creating. They celebrate traditional American values, and yet an effective chief executive often has to create new, bold traditions. Sometimes the dogmas of the past become irrelevant to new challenges that we face as a people, as a nation. Thus, presidents serve as the primary agents of modernization and change in the U.S. But here's the problem. Political change, all change in effect, is resisted. Fear of change proves to be a pretty formidable obstacle. We like routine, Lou. Human beings get set in a certain routine. They don't want to depart from that. Change is scary. Change is fearful. So, in a way, all presidents are compelled to couch reform, change, and modernization, progressivism, I hate that word, in the comforting, familiar clothing of past values. Mr. Obama says this constantly. That's not who we are as Americans.
He does say that a lot.
My analysis there is, what the heck does he know about who we are as Americans. The man is not an American, in my humble opinion. I don't care where he was born. You look at his rhetoric, his actions, the man is disgusted by traditional American values. The man hates America and Americans. He uses them for his Islamo-communist goals.
Well,
and there are people that sign on willingly because they're mind-rape morons.
Absolutely. What people don't realize that didn't have the same academic discipline that you and I had, and maybe no one has ever told them. Being American it's not about where you were born. It's a mindset, and it always has been. And this is coming from the girl whose family. I have one family who's been here less than 400 years, and they've been here 350. One line of my family. And I will look any immigrant straight in the eye and say, if you came here with the right attitude, if you came here to be an American, you are an American. I don't care where you were born. I will embrace any immigrant that way. I'll embrace any citizen that way. But at the same time, if you don't have the right mindset, because being American is about a mindset and not about where you were born, and you were born in this country, you're not an American because you don't have that American mindset. And no, you don't have to believe in a certain religion or even a certain economic model, but you do have to believe in people's freedoms and not in the shut-uppery that takes place now.
Very astute comments. I agree with you 100%. American is a mindset. America is a paradigm, an attitude. It is the whole man concept. And ladies, I mean human. I'm not showing disrespect to you. Whole woman concept as well. That's exactly what it is. I have been around. There is no room in this country, people, for hyphenated Americans. You're not a black American, an African American. You're an American. You're not a Vietnamese American. You're an American. If you have the right set of attitudes and you are grounded in those values and principles.
I know, and if we're following that model. I've known lots of people that have come here couldn't speak a word of English from Vietnam. My kids went to school with them, and they quickly become Americanized. Yep. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They are just phenomenal people.
And if we're going to follow that model,
Americans, Lou.
Right, and if we're going to follow that model, then I would be a Norman American, even though the Norman Empire hasn't existed for hundreds of years.
The Normans, they founded. They came to Ireland they were there for a long time. The Normans.
Well, but they're not around anymore. Good luck finding one. It's all heritage. It's not, it's not there anymore.
Exactly.
And I'm not a Norman American, and I've never considered myself that, and neither did any of my family. So.
You know what, Lou? In the United States of America, for change to be acceptable, that's a good way to put it. For change to be acceptable, it must be grounded in deeply rooted American traditions and values and principles for it to be acceptable. So, to summarize this whole thing, this presidential paradox, this series we've been talking about on the radio, in summary, to govern successfully, presidents must learn to successfully manage these paradoxes and a variety of competing demands and expectations, if you will, from his or her one day 8 constituencies. We, as an electorate in the mass, we have to select presidents who understand these paradoxes and have a gift for improvisation. We must also not be confused by these paradoxes of the presidency when we evaluate their performance once they get in office. Presidents cannot do everything that we think they have the ability and the power and the skills to do. They just can't. And that's a big problem right there. We think they can do anything, they can't. When Americans realize that the presidency is incapable of dealing with everything every problem, every dilemma well, and that democratic politics is not sufficiently suited to provide quick answers to every social malaise that exists or props up out there, then and only then will we, as a member of the electorate, will we be more responsible in the way we choose our candidates and eventually our president, and in the way we judge those chief executives once they make it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that's the whole undergirding foundation, if you will, or a lesson that I want all my students to learn when we talk about the paradox of the American presidency. We have to understand them as well and choose the right people and hold them accountable once they get there, but realize they can't do everything, Lou. What are your comments?
Yeah, no, I think that the important thing for people to remember now is to use these kind of guidelines and these paradoxes when they're evaluating candidates, because I believe they all know this, and their strategists all know this when they're running for office. Exactly, that messaging is so boiled down to what's effective and what's not effective, and there's so much data out there. They all know what they need to say to get elected, and we have to be very cautious, like sheepdogs, to determine the difference between what they're saying that's sincere, what they're going to do, what their past actions have been like, and, how they really align with our own values. And I think where people get into trouble is that they're single-issue voters, and they'll buy just about anything anybody says as long as they agree with them on that one issue.
I noticed you gave a plug to our first radio show together on Office Hours with Dr. A, Sheep, Wolves, and Sheepdogs.
Yep.
And that'd be a good one for people if they want to go back and listen to a podcast. Go listen to that, because very poignant and to the point, brutally honest, and we've got to realize that. Going back to the creation of the presidency, it was back in Federalist Number 70, which was written by Alexander Hamilton, who later became Secretary of Treasury. In Federalist Number 70, Alexander Hamilton pretty much persuaded us when we, as a nation of 13 colonies, came together as United States of America, 13 states. He persuaded those states when they were going through the constitutional crisis, if you will, of should we ratify the Constitution or not. He persuaded those people back then, our forefathers and our people that were in the United States, that an American presidency was necessary. But you got to remember, as students of the presidency, that throughout all of our years, 230 some odd years, many of our so-called scholars, through their writings and teachings, have demonstrated that the American presidency is unique. It was an invention created in Philadelphia by those 57 men that came to that convention. But besides being unique, it is always, always, always potentially dangerous. And that's what we have to remember as an electorate. They work for us, not the other way around.
Yeah, all of them.
They are not rock stars. They're not rock stars.
No.
Like I just got to reading John Fogerty's biography, Fortune & Son. Really, really good book. I recommend it. The guy is so talented and yet so humble, and has been screwed so many times throughout his life. It was interesting for me to read that about John Fogerty from the Creedence Clearwater Revival days.
Right. Yeah.
So the presidency is dangerous. It's dangerous.
And people don't realize, I don't think, how unique it is in the world. There is no presidential republic quite like ours anywhere in the world. I challenge someone to find it, and if you do, tweet it to me, because it doesn't exist.
Well, there's no real theory on the presidency yet that you can call a theory. It's all just a bunch of theories out there.
Yeah.
But no, there's no real consensus. But I like teaching about the presidency because it is the focal point of our political system. It's not more than supposed to be that way. We'll discuss that when we get to presidential spectacle. But it has evolved that way, and I think I would argue it has evolved that way because of the people out there in his audience, in his constituency, 8 constituencies that he has that think he can do anything and everything, but he can't. So that's why everything is centered on him when it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, you said earlier we have 3 branches of government, and you were taught that in the 5th grade. You know what? That's wrong. We have 5 branches of government. And maybe we'll get to that when you say the time is right, as my producer. But we don't have 3, we have 5. You didn't know that, did you?
Well, yeah, but we're not supposed to have 5.
But we do. What we're supposed to have and what we have are 2 different things.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the beauty of the story of the Leviathan. I mean, it's
well, exactly.
It was prophetic.
It's normative theory versus empirical theory. What you're supposed to have is 3 branches of government. That's normative theory. Empirical theory says, no, we've got 5 branches of government.
Right, exactly.
And I teach that to my university students all the time. I wrote an article about that if you want to look it up on the Nation Rising or whatever. It was published by Jared Day.
Right, yeah. You did write an article on that. That was a while back. But,
it's been forever. Time flies when you're having fun.
Right, exactly. But it's that was a good article. I would recommend it. But there should be 3 branches of government. At this point, however, it's really almost like, what are the other branches for, other than the presidency and the bureaucracy, which is I'm assuming, or if I remember correctly, is one of the branches. One of the 5.
Yeah, did you read that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It's been a while.
The media is 5.
Yeah, exactly. Which is never that's just a whole other story. Maybe you and I should do a show on the media and the government, and because it shouldn't be quite so closely entwined as it is. But that's a whole other topic. So. Yeah, I mean,
aren't they supposed to be the watchdog?
Yeah, they are supposed to be
the watchdog for the people.
They are, but
but they're not.
No, and even as compliant as they are, and as favorable towards certain types of governments and certain politicians as they are, it's still not enough for this administration. They've tried to control them even further, and in the process, I think, push them away. But at the same time, you still see nothing but support, and it's in a lot of ways, a lot of our media is just might as well be state-run media at this point. It's probably yeah.
I'm getting to a point where I'm getting tired of listening to Bill O'Reilly. Some of the stuff that comes out of his kisser. I agree with most things he says, like all the other conservative pundits, if you will, on Fox News.
Yeah.
And yet when they're going in the direction I don't want to go to. When you and I interviewed Tamara Holder, who's a Fox News contributor, she's notorious as a liberal and always fights with Sean Hannity and gets vitriol thrown her way from the
I think she gets paid to fight with Hannity, though. I think that's part of where her paycheck comes from.
Well, I probably would too. But I listened to her during that interview, and she rubbed off on me in a good way. And I hope we had some influence on her to make her, contemplate and think about things from a maybe a different perspective.
She made way more sense than I expected her to, especially when it came to the presidency and the questions that we actually asked her. I thought that I agreed with her more than I expected to. I'll put it that way. So if you get her away from Hannity and let her just talk on her own, she makes more sense.
I told her offline that in my producer's eyes, you are a suspect. You are a suspect, Tamara, in the Lynch's eyes. You better bring your A game.
She was nice.
She did.
Yeah, she was very nice, and you shouldn't scare people about me. I'm not that bad. But she was very nice, and she was very gracious, and she made more sense than I expected her to, outside of her role that she plays on Fox, which really told me something about, and I've worked with media for a long time. It told me a little bit more about that political side of it and the pundit side of it, and, you know, why they have her own on. And, you know, it's like being in a courtroom, and I know that she's a lawyer, and they take an adversarial position, and that's kind of what they're doing, and I get that. But it does say a lot about, you know, what we're watching and what we're letting seep into our brain. So sometimes
the media will set you up, Lou, like that.
Yes.
I was interviewed on that show out of Nashville, Conservative Law and Politics, which is going to air later today with Lee Dreyer, and he asked me about some of those things that was happening on the campuses. You know, the past university professor. One of the things he asked me about was that swastika. I mean, supposedly made out of feces. I said it's all a lie. It's all trumped up. It's all a lie to whip people up into a frenzy, torque people up. It never happened. I'm going to tell you that right now. And a lot of stuff is a setup for weak-minded people to get pulled in to the safety of the anonymity in a group.
And that might
do things that they think that will never be found out.
That might be a really great topic for an upcoming show in the near future, because there's more and more coming out every day over the past few days about these setups and how they're being planned and propagated, and some of the propaganda that is not true at all coming out of universities and Black Lives Matter, and some of the kind of underhanded and untrue things that they're doing and propagating. And I think that that might be something that we address on a future show, because it's getting pretty crazy. And, you know, we're all about propaganda on this show. We like to
it happens all the time. I use the term mind rape, and I never did that to my students in the university setting, or you listening out there. I don't want to put my brain in your head. I want to make you think.
That's the whole point,
and look at things from the proper perspective, and go out and find out on your own if Dr. A is a filthy liar or if he's telling you the truth. Don't take what I say for granted. Go out and find on your own if what I just told you was the truth.
Right.
And that's what I want from you. I do that with my students all the time. You know, Abraham Lincoln, the fourth president of the United States. Wait a minute, Dr. A, he wasn't the fourth president of the United States. James Madison was. Oh, yeah. Thank you for challenging me. Don't believe everything I say. Find out if I'm telling the truth or not. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to tell you the truth, and then I'll endure the consequences. You know, so we'll talk about that. There's lots of things that are happening. They're being trumped up and set up, and, you know, for to get a certain reaction out of people.
It's propaganda time. It's election time. There's a lot of unrest in the world, and it's like a propaganda perfect storm going on out there. And it's really, really interesting.
Did you want to talk to the listener? There's two listeners out there. That there's some news for office hours with Dr. A.
I do, yeah. I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap up the topic. Anything you want to say? Any final notes on the presidential paradox and the upcoming elections?
Well, beyond the consensus amongst scholars that the presidency is, what I say, unique. We got to have one, and potentially dangerous. Our American presidency is and will remain a challenging institution for us to fully understand. The difficulty stems from that unusual character of the institution that our founding fathers first created back in 1787. So from that perspective, the presidency is both unique and it is evolving. It defies simple explanations, and we have to understand, and we have to have the right education about it to give ourselves the right tools to judge these people that are running. Character is mega important. I don't want to be lied to, and then judge them and their performance in office based on a precise understanding of what it is they can and can't do. That's what I want my students to understand about the paradox of the American presidency.
I think that was a great way to wrap it up. So let's plug what we're doing, what we've got coming up a little bit. Really exciting for us is that we're going to begin broadcasting on WNJC Tuesday, December 1st at 5 p.m. every Tuesday. Just kind of the beginning for us. And we are also going to move our show on K98 to follow up JD and Stacy. So get a good laugh, have a couple of drinks, and then we'll play our drinking game. if you're wondering about the words, well, maybe we'll start tweeting those out before every show. Or maybe we'll cover them at the first of the show. It's Islamo-communist. What are our other drinking words? Mind rape is a drinking word, and that's definitely 2 of them. I don't know if I even remember them all. We just add them as we go.
That audience there, I've been interviewed several times on WNJC 1360 AM there in Philly. It's a huge listening audience, like the 6th largest audience in the United States. So we're honored to be on at that station during drive time, and hopefully we get a lot of people and listen to us so we can educate them.
Yes.
And the other thing, following JD and Miss Stacy, what a wonderful opportunity, because more than likely we'll be able to keep the people that listen to them, which is a big audience, and the ones that are in the romper room, cutting up and having fun in the romper room. Right. And we'll be able to keep them for that extra hour before the football
Maybe they're
starts,
a fun group.
They
are a fun, very smart group, and we'd love for them to stick around and listen to us. The other thing is we won't be right in the middle of the football day. So that'll be a really great thing.
I tried to give them that accolade from Dr. Ed that they were an intelligent bunch of people, and they were wondering if I was teasing them or not. I said, no. I watched what you
They're
say.
Smart. They
how
know
you
how
frame
smart
your analysis. They're very intelligent. So I'm honored to be following JD and Stacy, and hopefully we can hook some of those guys into our show.
We are really excited about the changes, and we're going to do it all the week of December 1st, so we have an opportunity to let our listening audience, which is not peanuts, and we thank everybody that listens to us on a regular basis and everybody that's been listening to us, and hope that we have the opportunity to pull in even more listeners with the move on K98, and we're very excited about WNJC. We couldn't be more excited about that. So we are going to be right back here next week at the same time, 3 p.m., and we'll keep you posted on our move. But that's going to be December 6th. We're going to start following JD and Stacy at noon, and December 1st, Tuesday, 5 p.m., you can hear us on WNJC out of Philly. We'll be broadcasting on terrestrial as well as on their website. So have a wonderful Sunday. We'll see you next week. Say goodbye, Dr. Ray.
Goodbye. Let freedom ring. God help us. And always speak the truth and then endure those consequences. God bless America.
God bless America. We'll see you guys next week.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.